Today we're going to speak about self-pity. I'll be giving you some tips on overcoming self-pity, and in the second part we're going to have a meditation that can help us manage self-pity in a wiser way. So first of all, let's discuss what is self-pity. I'm sure all of us have felt self-pity at a certain time in our life. I know I have. That feeling of self-pity, it's really, oh, poor me, right? It's, oh, poor me, why me? I think that that's the main phrase going through your head when you have self-pity. Poor me, why me? The world is against me. You know, it's like a feeling of exasperation, a feeling of being isolated, and even a feeling of guilt. You're taking center stage, your ego is taking all the attention and saying, you know, that my problem is the biggest problem. And yet you know that in the world there are much more serious problems. It's like stubbing your toenail when other people are getting their arms chopped off, you know what I mean? It's like crying about your little problem, and yet it seems like it's the biggest problem in the world to you during those moments of self-pity. It's quite healthy to allow yourself to pet yourself and hug yourself and sort of be a parent to yourself. When you were growing up and you had some problems, your parent would come up and comfort you and be there for you and be present for you and help make things better. So in a way, growing up, you have taken on that role yourself. You have become your parent, an internalized parent. They're there, everything's going to be okay. Some degree of allowing yourself to go into this little melodrama is fine and healthy, because obviously the state of self-pity is not one in which the solution can be found or the problem can be solved, or may not even actually help you feel better. It may worsen and dig you deeper into a hole. Mentally resilient people have found ways to help themselves out of self-pity. As we say in Greek philosophy, everything in moderation. The Stoics refer to the dichotomy of control. Basically, they say that there are some things that you can control in this life, and there are some things that you cannot control in this life. Okay, so you have to understand, if you have done everything you possibly could have, then fine. Then you have to let go and let God, as they say, you know, allow life to unfold in front of you. It's like the weather. Can you change the weather? No. You can take an umbrella, though. There is something you can do. This is the very logical and sensible thinking of the Stoics. And it's very aligned with the serenity prayer that says, Lord, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change those things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is all a Stoic thinking, Stoic way of handling our thoughts. As you know, I have my method, the Alkistis Method. And when I find that I'm in self-pity, or I have a client who's in self-pity and they're narrating, they have an inner narrative that's going on like, oh, poor me, as I was saying earlier, this only happens to me and it's everyone else's fault. In this kind of spiral of thinking, this groove of thinking, I will apply my method. ethos, pathos, logos. For those of you who know, the Alkistis method is based on Aristotle and Socrates' method. So what do? Ethos is a question you ask yourself, and you say, this inner narrative that I am telling myself, is it true? Ethos has all to do with integrity. It has to do with the way we live in truth, okay? So when you have these thoughts, you really must put yourself, self-reflect on your thought stream and say, is that thought that I just had, is it true? Or am I exaggerating? Am I being melodramatic? Am I generalizing? Am I making a general statement like everybody hates me, or my family is against me? You have to say, time out. Is that really true? Right? If we're honest with ourselves, you can say, is it 100% true? Or maybe 30% true. You see, the element of ethos, when you're reflecting on your own thoughts, is vital, because if we are not living in truth, we are living in self-deception, and this can only create more problems. The second question you will ask yourself, based on my method, is it kind? Is this thought that I'm having, if I keep saying that to myself, they hate me, she hates me, or, this is never going to change, is that a kind way of thinking? Okay, if it's like having an inner roommate who's really looking at the dark side of life and the negative side of life, and just like you wouldn't accept that kind of talk from someone else, why do you accept it from yourself? It's not a kind way of thinking towards yourself. And while we're on the topic of pathos and how kind is this thinking that I'm having, you can also put yourself in the shoes of the other person and say, is that kind towards so-and-so? Is that kind thought I'm having towards them? Perhaps they have a reason that they haven't really expressed. I haven't allowed them to express it. Or maybe they have their side of the story, yeah? The truth is not only one-sided, it's not black or white. We must learn to ask ourselves, is this thought kind towards the other person? Or maybe you've labeled them, That's not a kind thing to do, to say, he's an idiot or he's an egoist. He may do an egotistical thing, but it doesn't make him a full-fledged egoist, right? You have to have kinder thoughts, more empathic thoughts, more compassionate thoughts towards the other, and understand the burden that they are carrying or the mental disability that they are living with. This is softening your thinking and making it more kind. And the third filter you can put, and the third question in the Alkistis method, goes under the category of logos. Ethos, pathos, logos. Logos has to do with the logic and reason. Think about it logically. What's happening? Let's be more objective and reasonable. What do the facts actually state? So we move away from all emotionality and emotionalizing, and we simply stay with the question, what is the logical thing to do here? What is a strategy? What is a plan that I can have? And once you've covered these ethos, pathos, logos, is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? You will feel much, much better, and this inner narrative that you have will be revised and edited and reworded so that it is a more truthful flow of thought, it is a kinder flow of thought, and it is a more logical and useful way of thinking. Okay? So you will reformulate your inner narrative and begin to repeat this narrative to yourself. There's a lot of lies we tell ourselves, and they often put us in this place of self-pity. So we must use our critical thinking. Either system is very useful. You can alternate, you can do both when you find yourself in a time and place of self-pity. I would like to learn more about your issues of self-pity. If you want to share them with me, go ahead and write them in the comments below, or send them in an email, or even apply to book a free strategy session with me. Other than that, we're going to move now on to part 2, which is a guided meditation, a deeply relaxing guided meditation, a long, relaxing session, and this is available only to members of my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate reading your comments. I really appreciate you being here. Keep on shining.